Well, doesn't the Dresden Files have a lot of hype behind it? I don't think I've heard anyone say a bad word about this series, which makes me suspicious. It can't be perfect, right? No, it can't. But a series about an urban wizard who uses his knowledge and magic to solve fantastical crimes can't possibly be bad either. So I went into book one Stormfront, curious yet cautious. And although I can see why the series is so popular, I don't fully understand why it's put on such a high pedestal of perfection. There are a few moments that, look, let's just start the review.
No fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff!
In the name of giving book one of the Dresden Files an honest appraisal, let's start with some praise. Ooh. Firstly, if you enjoy fast paced storytelling, which I do, you'll want to wine, dine, bed, and marry Stormfront. Immediately, it kicks off with a murder and a missing persons case. I do appreciate how the author Jim Butcher forces our protagonist, Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden, into two investigations at once, which partly fuels the story's fast pace. I didn't know if the two crimes were connected, which added to the mystery. I mean, it's not unusual for a contractor in any industry to work on multiple unrelated jobs at the same time. My point is, the plot has a bit of complexity to it, or at least it gives that illusion. Speaking of illusion, smooth segue, in Stormfront, magic is handled in an interesting way. Initially, it's presented as more superstitious and ritualistic. For a while there, I didn't know if Harry was even a real wizard. I watched shows like The Mentalist back in the day, where the lead character is a former fake psychic turned police consultant, and I wondered if this was something like that. But as the plot unfolds, it becomes clear that magic is real, even if not all mortal folk believe in it, and plenty don't understand it, even Harry himself at times. I do find it interesting how Harry and many other practitioners view magic with a certain level of respect, and the idea of someone using their power for malicious purposes is abhorrent. There are so many compelling angles to the magic system: the ritual aspects, the name based magic, the fact that will, intent, and emotion play a role. It's a very give and take system. For example, soul gazing, where you gaze into and basically read a person's soul, is a two-way act. You can't soul gaze someone without them in turn soul gazing you. I love magic systems that have these types of strict limitations and rules for many reasons, but one being they prevent the urban wizard from becoming an OP god among mortals. Every act of magic should have a price. The world building, including the magic system, isn't rammed down your throat for the most part, and like I said, I wasn't even sure wizards were real in the beginning. I do have a gripe about how the magic system is initially presented, but it's not critique time yet, so yes, more praise. Maybe this book is good. I like that the author not only places limitations on the magic system, but also on Harry himself. He can't use tech, or at least not well, because of his magic, and he's forbidden from doing half the stuff he needs to do to properly investigate these crimes. He's somewhat hamstrung, and in relation to this, he's presented with several tough decisions throughout the narrative. The choices he makes help showcase and even develop his character. He even gets nerfed in different ways at different times, so he is truly challenged at almost every step of the story. There's a nice ebb and flow of conflict and tension right up until the end, and the plot takes plenty of twists and turns. I had no idea where the story was going, or if it was even going anywhere. It does go somewhere, but am I satisfied with the conclusion? Look, I haven't read much urban fantasy, and seeing a wizard navigate or try to navigate a modern world is refreshing. The overall story has that old school private eye vibe, and Harry himself isn't the big tough no nonsense action hero. He doesn't always have the wittiest response. He even has a weak stomach. His flaws make him a genuinely interesting and complex character. At times, keeping with the private eye story tradition, Harry's knowledge and observational skills, not his wizardry, are often his biggest superpowers. Often, the magic itself is more about knowledge than power. I wouldn't be surprised if the thought that sparked this series was, what if Sherlock Holmes, hear me out, what if Sherlock Holmes was a wizard? That's what we get here, a Sherlock Holmes type character solving crimes with wit, logic, and wizard spells. You couldn't make this series bad if you tried, but like I said, it ain't perfect. Here's why. Firstly, I mentioned my gripe about how the magic system is initially presented. I fully thought it was a spells, incantations, rituals sort of system, more like witchcraft, I guess. Not like a I can summon magic at any moment situation. Then, early in the book, during a point of tension, Harry suddenly becomes the last airbender and does some wind magic. It feels cheap to me, withholding info about the magic system, then suddenly saying, "Oh, Harry's in trouble. What's he going to do based on what you know about him and his magic? Shoot wind out of his hands. Woo!" Wait, he can do that? Shouldn't we have learnt this before that critical moment? It's not like Harry just discovered his air magic right there and then. He knew he could do that. Why weren't we informed? My point is, withholding info about what the protagonist can do to create a false sense of tension feels cheap to me. In my opinion, scenes are more compelling when the author uses the reader's knowledge, not basic information they've squirreled away, of the system and situation to create tension. For the most part, in Stormfront, the author does this. That one scene just rubbed me the wrong way because at that point, with the way people talked about magic, I thought Harry had to perform some complex ritual to do anything notable. But nah, he can do normal wizard stuff. Is that a spoiler? I don't think so. It shouldn't be. I mean, that's the whole point of this critique. Anyway, moving on. Before I get into my biggest issue with Stormfront, let's discuss the narration. Yes, because I'm reading so many indie submissions right now, I'm consuming pretty much everything else in audio format. So, when the narrator, James Masters of Buffy and Angel fame, I'm sure he's done other stuff, when he first started speaking, my first thought was, wait, James Masters isn't British, I've been living a lie. Anyway, the narration itself is decent, but different. Some parts I loved, others threw me off. There are some weird pauses, and the bored tone, which does work for the character, is overdone in some parts. I found myself getting distracted by the narration quite a bit, which doesn't normally happen. Some lines read awkwardly, and I'm not sure if that's the writing or the narration. In hindsight, it might be a combination of both. Some narrators are great at delivering awkward lines in a way that makes them fly under the radar, but Stormfront created a few blips on my awkward line radar. With that said, overall, Masters delivers the content well, and I grew to appreciate his unique style once I came to terms with the fact that he's not British. All right, my biggest issue with Stormfront is so much of the plot relies on so many characters making dumb decisions or just being dumb in general. No spoilers, but what can I say? The vampire lady. Fairly important and influential person by the sounds of it, but she doesn't properly train her primary security guard. How convenient. Intelligent fairies are incredibly easy to trick. Convenient. Multiple people withhold important information against their best interests and the interests of entrance? Let's just leave it there. Even Harry himself, who's hired by the police to investigate a crime, withholds important information, which almost leads to his undoing. So many problems could have been solved with just the expected level of communication. Due to this and other reasons, people are comically hostile towards Harry. I mean, that one guy, Morgan, repeatedly showing up, either unsheathing or brandishing his sword, is hilarious to me, and I don't think it's meant to be. I mean, again, no spoilers, but he has one job and he can't piece together what's actually happening. It becomes almost cartoonish. Oh, I'll just leave it there. There are a lot of questionable moments, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, sorry, I was very passionate about that point. With all that said, my introduction to the Dresden Files was mostly positive, and I see so much series potential. I wasn't totally sold on the end reveal, but I did eventually accept the explanation. It makes sense if you forgive all the dumb foolery. Is that a word? It is now. Look, book one, I make some allowances, and I am keen to continue the series. Stormfront, while leaving the door open for more Dresden Files stories, we know there's more. It does wrap up nicely. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway, and hate watch my content. That's always fun.